Of section 3.2 notes. And this is for example number 4. Now, you're more than welcome to do this example by hand. However, I can tell you that it will be much simpler if you use your graphing calculator to do this. Okay, so I showed you guys before how to type an equation into your calculator, but I'm going to go ahead and do that again. So what I want you to do is go into y equals, and you're going to type this equation in, right? So we're going to be computing parts A, B, and C using this function. So go ahead and do that. So 0.56 x squared minus 34.39 x plus 1212.57 plus, and if you're not sure on how to do the fractions, you simply hit alpha y equals, and then it's that first one n over d, and you hit enter, and you get this fraction bar. Now, those of you with an older calculator, it may give it to you as a fraction. I don't know. You'll have to come see me in class, and I'll help you out with that. All right, divided by x, and that's all we need here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit second, quit. And it brings you to this blank screen. And what I'm going to do from here is I want to calculate quickly 30 computers per day, 40 computers per day, 50 computers per day. And one thing I do want you to recognize is that X represents the number of computers that we're actually manufacturing, where C bar is the actual cost of manufacturing those. Okay, I'm going to hit alpha zoom. Alpha trace. Okay, and I put my function in y1, so I'm going to hit, I'll click on 1, and then I'm going to start parentheses, and whatever my x value is, so in this case it's 30, whatever my x value is, I'm going to plug in that, and I'm going to close my parentheses, click enter. So the cost of manufacturing 30 computers per day is about $1,351 and about 54 cents. Okay, and we can repeat that process. So alpha trace y1, and then I can parentheses 40, and it gives us to manufacture 40 computers, it gives us $1,232.97. And then we'll do it one more time for part C, which is 50 computers a day, so parentheses 50, enter, and this costs us $1,293.07. So in minimizing the amount of the cost of manufacturing computers, notice that for 30 computers it did cost a little bit more. Then for 40 computers it dropped significantly, so just a little bit more than $100 per day. And then it started going back up around 50 computers. Okay. So part D is asking us to actually graph this function on the interval from 0 less than x less than or equal to 80. Okay. So when I go back into my graph, before I do that, what I want to do is go into Window, and I'm going to change my x minimum and x maximum. So I'm going to change these first two rows. So my minimum value that we're going to use is 0. So I'm going to change that minimum value to 0. I'm going to go up to my maximum value, and I'm going to change that to 80. So right now we're calculating from manufacturing 0 computers all the way up to manufacturing 80 computers. What would the minimum cost be, or what that cost function looks like. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go into graph. And notice that it didn't really give us anything, right? So I need to adjust my window again. So I'm going to go back in. In this case, our cost should not be negative. So I'm going to go ahead and, for my y value, so remember your y values are going to be your C of x, the cost of manufacturing. So it should be greater than 0. And notice that if we go back to the home screen, notice that all of my values are in the thousands. Okay, so whenever I build my window, I'm going to keep that in mind. So my y max, it probably needs to be greater than 1,000. So I'm going to make it 1,500. okay? And I'm going to go to graph and notice that it's changed my function, okay? And we have this dip of a curve. Now we could change our window one more, so I'll just make it a little bit bigger. So let's say 2000 instead, okay? And we'll graph that and we'll see how it looks. Okay, and we have a little bit bigger portion of our graph. Now we want to, it says create a table using your calculator and then determine which value minimizes the average cost. But there's a much simpler way to do that. If you hit second and then trace, that gets you to this calculate function. Okay, and I'm going to scroll down until it gets me to this minimum, right? So I'm going to go down to minimum, or I can just hit 3. Okay, and we're going to kind of estimate. So I want to make sure that I'm on the minimum value, or I'm including the minimum value. So notice it says it's asking us to find the left bound. So I'm going to move to the left of where I think the bottom is. I'm going to hit enter. Then I'm going to move to the right of where I think the bottom is, and I'm going to hit enter. And then it's going to ask us to guess. It doesn't really matter where you guess. I can just hit enter one more time, and it will give you the minimum value. So building about 41 computers will minimize our cost, and that minimum cost is $1,231.71. Okay, and that is how you use your calculator on in order to solve these.